Welcome to Journey to Service. I'm William Laddick, and once again, we welcome back Randall Earl Kaiser, Mayoralty candidate for Calgary 2021. Randall, it's only 8 days away, I think. It's getting kind of close.
You betcha, brother. She's getting down there. It's been a hot and heavy week, I'll tell you. Just amazing stuff happening all over the place, and not just in Calgary. As you know, this is a worldwide event culminating on the 18th of October here in Calgary.
Yeehaw. Well, you have a lot to tell me by the sounds of it. So I'm going to just kind of let the reins go a little bit and see where you go. But I do know you have some good news. One thing we didn't mention on last week's show when we could have was that we do have your paperback version of the book out now as well, available on Amazon. So that one's available for folks who are interested. We have it priced at 17 Canadian dollars on the nose. So your book is right there, and that converts to an interesting number too. I forgot what it was in American, 1313 or something like that. So it was pretty cool.
Well, not only that, but it also equates to the letter right after R in the alphabet.
Exactly. The one that we can't talk about.
We can talk about Q. What's wrong with Q?
Well, you never said the C word, and you still got your channel blown up. That was another thing that happened this week too. Tell us about that. Let's start off with that.
Sure, let's start off with that. I was in, I'm getting some invitations now, finally, like, because I got in the mayoralty throes late, and it wasn't late. They put a deadline on for a reason, so you'd think there'd be a reason for that. But of course, everybody's in the race earlier and everything. So I got some invitations, and one of them was from CBC News, or CTV News, sorry, to do a little 60-second clip on what I was about, So I did what I was about, or did a little clip on what I'm about. Poof! Third strike on my YouTube channel, which means termination. So a year's worth of videos gone. And I don't do backups, so whatever. But it's just reeks of the censorship, okay? Like people that are, still wanting to put a tinfoil hat on this cowboy, and say, oh, yeah, obviously you didn't go to school very long. I get all these comments from people. It's just amazing. Oops, we had a little, there we go, we're back.
You just went dark for a second, but they ended up staring at me, so I couldn't be bad, right?
That's good. Well, the phone doesn't really stop much lately, but anyway, that little bit of censorship was what I wanted to, bring to the forefront here today, folks. And, if you know the way that I talk, I'm not hollering and screaming like, some of the people are getting arrested by police and stuff. Some of these other candidates are, and, I'm coming across with common sense to people. If they don't believe me, well, go ahead and, keep putting that thing on your face or doing what you have to do. If you believe in that stuff, feel free. But to me, it's complete, utter nonsense. It doesn't make any sense when I continue to repeat the numbers that I do in my regular videos on my channel. And there's no use repeating them here because it's just, but you know what? I'm going to.
I was going to do it if you weren't, so go ahead.
Oh, thank you, William. We're getting into these numbers now. So approximately 2,700, bless their souls, okay, cardiovascular failure of some kind, pneumonia or heart failures, okay? Cardiovascular includes both, because cardiovascular is that area of your body, folks. Like, we're not going to try and educate people here. You should know this stuff pretty easily. Like, it just should come to you. If you're thinking in terms of what's happened in the last almost 2 years in this nation and around the world, and you're not aware of what cardiovascular is, well, then maybe you should look into that. Okay, so cardiovascular problems, 2,700 that passed away, that at the same time were diagnosed with something that is being challenged in courts around the world to be proven to exist, okay, in an observable scientific manner. Simple as that, okay? 27,000 people pass away in this province every year. Many, many more of cardiovascular problems than the 2,700, but those ones weren't diagnosed at the same time with this thing. Okay, pretty simple numbers, right? Out of 4.5 million. So what I'm questioning, and I went into Global News, I went into CBC News, I went into the police station this week with those stories to all of those venues, and I tried to portray in a common sense, slow, common man sense manner those numbers, and trying to convey those numbers to you now and to the people, or not you, William, you know, but the people of this audience to tell me how that relates to anything but, I won't use the P word, but I'm going to use another P word, 3 of them, in fact, a pedantic propaganda pandemonium, because that's what it is. There's nothing else going on. So this week has been a little bit of a twist, because really people want some proof on the banking side of what I talk about. So they're not really buying into what I say. You know, like as much as we've talked about the credit system and the whole manner in which the Crown Corporation manifests these funds that they're using to, you know, fix the problems because of this thing that's going on, the $300+ billion that Canada has now taken on in more debt. Nobody wants to ask them anything about that, but I can tell people about that too because of my banking experience, and William could tell you about that because of what we learned together, and we have. It's been a joint process, and our other friends, you know, that we work with. So the focus kind of shifted to that other stuff this week, thus a termination of my YouTube channel, my main one. We've still got this one, Thou Eternally. If you want to go back and look at all of our 28?
This is 28 today. Yep.
Yeah, 28 versions of William and I speaking on all of these issues, especially on the monetary side, comfort, income, and many other things. Then please go back there, or the book, as William suggested earlier, is available. And the other thing is that I still have a private secondary YouTube channel. So if you want that, we'll link it and we'll get people over there too, because I keep doing my, 3, 4, 5, 10-minute videos on there a couple times a day. As I walk around the city of Calgary talking to people, a lot of my little interviews got terminated that I did with all of these beautiful people here in Calgary, and that was a little sad, but that's okay. They all know what's going on. Those people that I spoke to are just beautiful people that really know. And if they didn't know a little bit, they learned a little bit more from me as I spoke about those numbers that I just said.
You know, the cool part, the video I remember fairly recently, very recently actually, that I was sad to see go was the day you had the announcement that the funding had gone through and you had the gal wearing the flowers on her head. I really was disappointed to see that one was going away. So that's really, really very sad, actually. A quick footnote for you, Randall, to your neighboring province to the west of you there, due west. We just passed our 2,000 mark this week, it looks like. Official confirmed deaths, 2001 in British Columbia.
Just a space odyssey.
Yeah, there you go. An odyssey it is. And that's all we'll say about that.
Yes. And let's please just remind the people out there that we have ultimate compassion for all of those 2001 and the 2,700 here. It's not about that. We're just so flabbergasted that people are still not looking at those numbers and saying, wait a minute here, that all we can do is have some humor, because otherwise it's how insane that is, just flabbergasts William and I. So just to add that in, we have ultimate compassion for every human being that passes away, all 27,000, in fact, 10 times the amount that pass away in Alberta every year, and very likely 10 times the amount that pass away in British Columbia every year. it's just, we have compassion for all of them. So
Absolutely. Let's get on the campaign trail here. What kinds of things have you experienced this week? I know that you had a 5-minute chat yesterday, or 5-minute opportunity to speak to a group of people. Maybe you can start off with that and then let us know where else you went. I know you mentioned a couple of TV stations and things. So give us a little history of what happened in the last 7 days.
well, let me go back just a minute, because the lady with the flower in her hair, I actually looked up my phone and I do have that one still on my phone. So I'm going to upload it I'll put it on Dow Eternally, because that's where it belongs. That video goes on Dow Eternally. It's
Cool.
beautiful. So I'll do that one for you, William.
Thank
when
you.
I get off yeah.
Just made
It's
my
really-
day.
Beautiful, brother. But yeah, the 5 minutes was an introduction to a number of the other candidates. Okay, we all came on a call and got 5 minutes to speak, and then we broke off into little micro groups to take questions from the people that were on the Zoom call. And it was quite interesting, because they reminded us a number of times, the facilitator of the meeting, and then the guy that broke into the meeting with me. Now listen, no conspiracy theories. And I'm like, what's a conspiracy theory? Like, I don't understand what you mean by that. So when I started to talk, he was going to bring forward some proof of doctors. Okay, just to say that without too much information here once again, so we don't get back. But he was going to bring a bunch of proof. And I said, I stopped him, because he was starting to rattle on, and he's the facilitator. And I said, who's running for mayor here? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, are you running for mayor or am I running for mayor? Who is this little meeting for? Okay, I get what you mean, he goes. I said, thank you very much. So he stopped, but it's just amazing how everybody is. That's why I use the word pedantic, because everybody's got an opinion. They all know what's going on here, but they sure the hell won't look at those numbers that you and I just talked about. So that was an interesting little meeting. And I thought I was going to be able to speak last week in public in front of, like, there's thousands of people come out at these peace rallies, these freedom rallies. They're not anti anything. These are peace and freedom rallies for people who want to have their own decision of what they put into their beautiful temples. Okay, temple being your own heavenly body, right? So these beautiful people come out to these meetings. And last Saturday, like a week ago yesterday, I was a little anxious, because I thought I was going to be able to speak on the stage. And I felt the butterflies, and I thought, what the hell, you're 60 years old. I haven't done a lot of public speaking though, William, So I was like, where's that nerves coming from? What the hell is this? And you know how you can feel that. You know what I mean by that.
Oh yeah.
It's a strange, kind of a physical feeling that you get. And so during the week after that meeting that I talked about, where I was, eye to eye or listening to the candidates, and then I've been spammed by many of the candidates. They get on Facebook and they're spamming everybody in there. So I comment on a lot of their spams, and I never get any answers back. I asked them, well, do you know how modern monetary theory works, or the fractional reserve lending? Like, if you're a politician, you should know some of this stuff about banking, or how credit is manifested at the Crown Corporation level, right? I don't get any answers. I don't know why, but it gives me an opportunity to say, thank you very much, Mayor-elect Randall Earl Kaiser. I put it on the bottom of their little spams, So what I've done with, and I'm not making fun of these people, okay? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But seriously, folks, like, if you're going to be a mayor of a city this size and you can't answer questions like that, then go back to the drawing board. Like, seriously, I met another guy down at the rally, in fact, and I don't want to mention his name because I'm not here to bash anybody, right? I'm not in this for competition. But he was pissed right off. He's another candidate. He says, how come they let in 27 candidates? How in the hell is anybody, like, I worked for 4 years to try and get to this space and to get here. And he said, now, there's all these candidates, and he's like bitter. And I thought, holy cow, like, really? get out there and pound the streets, talk to people, you know, like get your name out there. Most of them just put up signs and then do these advertising campaigns where their face is on television and hoping that people just recognize their name and their face and they go click, you know, without any research on the candidates, which is maybe the way it'll go. I don't know, William, you know, maybe that is all that's here, but I think that Calgarians are brighter than that. And that when Calgarians hear some truth like this, they're going to share this video with their friends and say, hey, wait a minute, listen to this guy, what he's got to say. You know, like seriously, these other guys aren't saying that. They're talking about, well, I'm going to decrease the property taxes by 1%. And the other guy, I'm going to increase property taxes to pay for this or pay for that. Where the hell does the money come from anyway? It's not from taxes. Calgarians and the city of Calgary is basically an infrastructure system, okay? The municipal governance is an infrastructure system. They either are building new things or maintaining things or paying the fire department who they want to force to do this, or the police department who they want to force to do this, who I've got on my side because I'm going to not force them to do that. Okay, they're not going to do that to the people of Calgary once I'm the mayor. Are you kidding me? Force them into doing that? When you look at the numbers that we gave at the beginning of this video, forget it. So I guess I could tidy this one up unless you want to bust in on me.
Just let's rope you back into what other things you were doing this week would be great.
Sure. So yeah, basically going around and meeting and introducing myself and kind of, teaching myself who these other people are that are running for mayor without thinking in terms of competition, but getting my nerves settled, okay? Because those nerves were there. Like I said, I'm thinking, God, these people, and they are intelligent. Don't get me wrong. They all have their own field of intelligence. Some of them are businessmen. Some of them are politicians that have been there for a long time. There's all kinds of, variety of people in there. And I'm not running any of them down. But do they have that holistic view and that knowledge of finance and not finance, of banking and the structure of credit manifestation? Do they have the basic skills to look at the simple numbers of what's going on in the last year and a half in Calgary? Do they have the desire to realize the thing about taxes is that it pays for a very small portion of the infrastructure and maintenance of this city, which is mostly what the city of Calgary does, as I said, other than pay some employees, So go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to, I feel like I want to jump on that one a little bit. We've been talking about it a fair bit the last few weeks. And I just keep thinking, okay, so we do understand. I think we can agree that most of the people that are running, and even the people that are already in office, in other levels of government in Alberta, may not know the answer to that question. But why is it important? Why is it important for us to know that? And what difference will it make if we know that? Like, how is it going to affect me in what I do in my daily job and my daily activities? I want to enjoy my life, and I'm a Calgarian, and I want to go out there and I want to do what I can do to make my family happy, to make myself happy, to feel good about life, and to enjoy what I'm doing as much as I possibly can. So does that tie in at all? That information that you want people to know, does that tie in? And if so, how does it tie in? Can we explain that a little bit more?
Totally ties in, William. And it's about the big picture once again, but bringing it down to what that average Calgarian can expect from, the multi-billions of dollars that are manifested at the Crown Corporation level that come down to the city of Calgary. Okay, if they can bring that amount of funding into the city of Calgary or into the province to, all of a sudden, there's these new vehicles everywhere, big buses where you go in to get this, big or not big, but brand new cop cars with AHS on the side and stuff like that that are racing around the city of Calgary and, you know, giving tickets out to people that don't comply with mandates, right? It's that kind of stuff. If you realize that amount of money was just manifested that quickly, okay, then you have a mayor that knows how that manifestation happens, right? If, okay, and I don't think this is going to happen. I think we're going to switch to an asset-backed system and all of this stuff is going to go away. But if that was to exist, okay, for the average Calgarian, and if he still thinks that we're going to continue on the way we are right now, then your mayor is going to go to that same organization that manifests that credit and say, look, if we have the ability to manifest that kind of funding for these projects, dealing with this thing that's going on, or if we can manifest the kind of funding that our young fellow Justin Trudeau can just say, we're going to send this much money to a nation over here and this much money to a nation, then we can damn well manifest enough money to make sure that every Calgarian has their comfort in some way or another. Okay, I'm not going to go to the comfort income level. People can go back to other shows to listen to that. But at least the comfort of knowing that they're not going to get kicked out of their home if they can't afford their taxes, okay? And these are elderly people where a little spike in their taxes is going to cause them to either have to sell their home or, you know, lose it.
Wouldn't
Or
it, wouldn't it be great if, you know, if we as Calgarians wouldn't have to worry about, you know, are we going to make enough money this month? Are we going to be able to pay the bills? You know, with the things that have gone on in the last year and a half that have, you know, shut down businesses for a while and now restarted, is that, you know, a lot of people are struggling and a lot of people are having a hard time getting their businesses back on track. And do you think that some of this funding that could come from these higher ups can help those small businesses?
Totally, William. Like I say, you know, like what I'm trying to say here is keep this in context of a community that needs that assistance. Okay, right now, I think we're on the same page when you're saying assistance. I'm not talking about private infrastructure funding that's going to come through from the banking system that I know of. Okay, and that's stuff that people are having a hard time grasping, and I no use in talking about it this close to the election. After the election, I'll talk about it even more. But right now, for the people that are listening and for your answer your questions, is once again, if we can manifest money for a whole bunch of brand new mobile hundreds of thousands of dollar units to drive around to give people this, and all these new vehicles and all of this stuff that's going on, you know what I mean? Like there are multi-millions of dollars being poured into this thing that is debatable. And yet there's still people that are struggling with their business. If that money was put into their business somehow, instead of into all of this other stuff, which is just a gamble, and a gamble on something that they think is real, when I just said 2,700 out of 4.5 million that were diagnosed at the same time of dying from a cardiovascular problem that was aside from the diagnosis. You know, it's just, those are the things. It's such a big picture that people have to open their mind to the big picture. I'm not going to sit here and tell people that I promise when I'm the mayor, I'm going to get you more money for your business. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that I'm going to promise to get you the big picture and teach you the big picture, if nothing else, and then go after these hierarchical corporations from the provincial to the federal to the crown corporation, and not only question them, but hold them accountable, William. That's what my goal is.
How will that change if every citizen comes on board with your concept of going after these higher ups and basically saying, look, we need to do this differently. This is not working. This is not working for me. This is not working for my neighbors. It's not working for my community. It's not working for my city. So what's the benefit of Calgarians jumping on board with you? How is that going to make a change overall in their lives and the lives and just the way the things are going in Calgary?
Well, let's talk about it openly. I'm not, you know, the hard part is with us, William, is that the chances of us getting banned on YouTube, you know, that's the hard part of this conversation. But I'm just going to outright say it. All of that stuff, if, you know, okay, the challenge being a mayor is that you've got 6 or 7 or 8 councillors, right? And all of them have to be on board with you at the same time. As loud and as, you know, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, as loud as I can be as the mayor, I'm still going to have to cater to the idea of democracy in that chamber, right? However, when I'm the mayor, there's no way that these forced mandatory things are going to continue, okay? And that instantly is going to change the economy of the city, because these restaurants and these businesses are all suffering because of this. And there's no reason for it, none whatsoever. There's no reason for people to be not allowed to have people in their stores. No reason for that. It's just insanity. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to bring. Those mandates are going to go away, okay? They're going to go away because there's no reason behind them. There's no science behind them. There's no pedantic reason behind them. When you look at the simple fact of those numbers we started this video off with.
Now, if we're helping, you know, if the goal is also to help the little guys get back on their feet as part of the bigger picture, I'm not just, again, we're not trying to put you into a corner here or anything, but let's say what we're doing is we're trying to improve how things are overall. But the question that just came to my mind too is that there have been, let's face it, there have been some big corporations, especially, you know, in the US, who actually have done very well, thank you very much, to the lockdowns. Should they be worried if you get elected mayor? Are they going to get hurt somehow by you becoming mayor?
Well, if I was, you know, if I could move Trump out of the way, they'd be pretty worried, I'll tell you that. But I don't know if we're talking the city of Calgary versus Trump. But honestly, like, Trump even pisses me off because he's, you know, did you hear this week? I wanted to go off on this for just a second.
All right.
But, you know, people say to me, you should watch what Trump's doing, watch what Trump's doing. I watched the last 30 or 40 seconds of his speech in Des Moines, Iowa. And at the end of that, he gets up there and he's dancing on the stage to Macho, Macho Man. Are you effing kidding me? Like, God almighty, folks. Like, to think that that's, you know, common sense or anything else. Listen, I like the idea that Trump is going to lead America out of the darkness of Joe Biden. Don't get me wrong. But to go into that ego mode, like, for Christ's sake, folks, you know, like, you are all sovereign human beings. You can see through that facade, through that movie screen that's playing out in politics at every level. And like I said, I'm not trying to run down Trump, but I'll sure the hell run down that other idiot. You know, like, it's just pathetic that, and that's what everybody wants everyone to do in politics, is to fight with one another, right? And get people fighting with one another instead of looking at the common sense that we talked about in this show to start with, the common sense behind credit manifestation of these corporate governments, including the corporate government of the United States. Is Trump going to move the United States back to a republic and become the 19th president instead of the 46th or 45th? He damn well better. Otherwise, he's no different than Biden, other than, you know, his dance moves, you know, like, it's just amazing. And, you know, when I talk like that, then people think I'm arrogant or I got a tinfoil hat. Listen, folks, like, seriously, the whole reason that this monetary structure stays in place that keeps you in slavery, okay, keeps the people of Calgary and the people of the world in slavery, is fighting with one another and not thinking about what's happening above that fight, above that corporate mentality of capitalism versus communism versus the new one that's out there right now that's taking on the minds of everyone, pharmaceuticalism. Pharmaceuticalism. You only need one side when you do that, because then it's the pharmaceuticalism against your freaking brain. That's it.
I'm kind of glad that I had two questions for you, and I'll give you both, and you can pick which one you want to answer first. One's a step back into what we were just talking about, because I had another question I wanted to ask about that. And as you were talking about, the money and the money supply and where it comes from is, the higher level banking. And the picture that I get, and other people probably get too, is probably some bigwigs and the old boys club kind of thing. And the first question is, would they give you funding for the kinds of things that you've been talking about building a better community, building something that Calgarians can really get behind, because there'll be great benefit for the community and for Calgary as well? Or are they just going to say, nope, we're not doing that, because that would empower the people, and we like keeping the people right where they are, thank you very much. So that's one question. And then the other one was with regards to something we've talked about many times, and you just mentioned it in your last answer: capitalism, communism. One better than the other, or what is the story with that? We haven't talked about that for a while. So I'll let you pick which one you want to answer first, and then we'll jump into the other one after that.
Okay, well, let's go with the capitalism versus communism thing for just a minute. And, to ease it into people's minds, we could just go capitalism and socialism, because communism obviously is pretty nasty stuff, right? And CCP, Chinese Communist Party, everyone wants to think of them as something that's, how the hell do you put this? Okay, I'll put it this way. When I landed in Shanghai airport, on the wall, when you walk into the receiving area, in huge letters, okay, in Chinese, obviously, but translated, what does it say? It says, "Welcome to China. Capitalism and communism working hand in hand." Believe that or not, folks. You can go there yourself. I could have taken a picture, but that's quite a few years ago when I was there. But that is the truth, okay? So CCP is simply the same gang as the Federal Reserve was, okay? And when I say was, these two organizations, CCP and the Federal Reserve, are the central banking systems that are based on the credit system, the slave system, okay? The autographs and agreements of human beings. And I don't want to go too deep into this close to the election again, William, but we want to touch on it, because it is important to realize that capitalism and communism working hand in hand in China, on the wall of Shanghai airport. The Chinese that I dealt with were gang members, like they were gangsters, right? But they can't kill each other, or else the government kills them. They can't even carry guns, see, because the communist government is over there, right? So they'd drink and they'd arm wrestle and stuff like that, but they had kingpins, I'll tell you. And it was so interesting in my career and my experience to be part of all of that and to realize what was going on in China. It's not all under communist rule. Communist government is there, but they make deals with these capitalists. Otherwise, they would never survive. You can't just have one little group of 1 million politicians with over 1 billion people and say they're going to get away with things. They have to intermingle with these people. And the best way you can intermingle is to create a bunch of capitalist gangs, right? So let's put that aside for a minute and go back to socialism versus capitalism, or conservative versus liberal, which is the terms that are used here in Canada for politicians and political games that are played, right? and bring that right back down to what we were talking about earlier with taxes. Oh, we're going to cut the taxes and balance the budget. How the hell are you going to balance the budget when you're getting all these billions or multi-millions poured into the coffers of the city of Calgary? Boy, I'll tell you one more thing that's going to happen is that this mayor, who's not going to just sit back and look at, the budget. Okay, we're just gonna, this is all the numbers. Okay, I trust you guys. I'm gonna go in and talk to those accountants. And that's what I'm gonna do when I'm the mayor of Calgary. We're gonna discuss these project funding things, and see where that all balances out. I'm gonna find out where the money flow from the federal government comes into the city of Calgary, from the Crown Corporation, from their credit manifestation games into the city of Calgary, and then how it goes out again. You're going to find that stuff out and show the city of Calgary some truth about the flow of funding, okay, from this funding, this credit system, right, that is just gong show. That being said, now we'll go back to where we were, and that idea that funding is where we're going, okay, and asset-backed accounts. Instead of this credit-based system where these crown corporations or these government corporations, which they all are, America, you name it, France, Germany, every one of them is under a corporation, how they're crediting and manifesting credit. And while holding back in the banking system, these huge, huge asset-backed accounts that are going to start flowing now. And that was the announcement I made with that young lady in the flowers that you liked so much. And we will put that up. That is happening too, folks. And those people, there's so many trillions, quadrillions, sextillions in value in those accounts that to say that some of that couldn't come to Calgary, of course it will. Lots of it. And whether I'm mayor or not, it's going to come through our organization, and it's going to come through for funding for projects, not under my name as a capitalist, given to, okay, loaned, which means a gift of God, loaned or given to as a gift to organizations that are not going to be in that globalist agenda. I'm not going to build another superstore. If you want to build a store for, holistic medicine or, outside the globalist agenda corporations that are out there, then that's who these people want to fund. They want to get away from the monopoly of the globalist agenda and bring in small businesses, fund them, not just say, okay, Mr. Small business who's suffering, how much do you need to build a new store? Okay, build a new store. And if you promise, not to me, but promise to God that you're going to do good with this money, that you're going to actually build a business that's good for the community, that's good for the people, that's good for Mother Nature and the environment, and you can bring that forward and do it, then here's some funding, okay? Not finance anymore, because that's the way these big corporations are funded now. They don't pay it back. I've explained that to many people in my past videos. Why is Brookfield Industries, who built the Twin Towers here in Calgary, Bankers Hall, and that builds all kinds of towers downtown that are sitting empty, how in the hell do they keep going? Why aren't they bankrupt? Because they're on the credit system. They're not in a debt system. So, but that's getting a little bit out there again. And like I say, people can go back to other videos for that.
I asked a similar question earlier with regards to, do you think big corporations are in trouble? I'm going to re-ask that question, but a slightly different slant. With this gold-backed system that you say it might be coming in or is coming in, are those big corporations in trouble, or are they just going to shift or transmute under this new system?
Well, they'll have to transmute somehow, because we're not here to destroy anything, and that's the beauty of this. Like, there's a lot of alternative media that speaks of quantum financial system, big shifts in the markets and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to get rid of the old US dollar and just bring in an asset-backed dollar. That is going to happen, but it's not going to, our way of thinking and the banking families, banking groups, and some of them are families, don't get me wrong, that I work with, are not in this to destroy anything. We're just here to add, just to say, okay, we need more funding into the economies of the world. And this is going to happen all around the world. So Calgary is not going to get left out. I'm just here to guide through that system and bring people to that realization as it happens. And it's going to happen. It's happening now. There are funds flowing now. So once they move into other nations and people say, how the hell did that happen? Like, well, it's going to happen here too. Like there's going to be huge changes around the world when these asset-backed funds really start to flow. And they're trickling through now. So when the flow starts, stand back.
Watch out, the dam's going to break. The other question that I asked with the the two different questions, let's jump back to that for a minute. The Old Boys Club, and will you be able to get funding for the city of Calgary? Because that's not the way things used to work. Are they going to open the door and say, okay, you can have funding for the city of Calgary to do things to build a community and to build the other businesses and the smaller corporations and the smaller businesses and the other humanitarian projects that have and charitable and social organizations. I mean, those are all things that have always been seemingly needing money and always never quite having enough, because they have to scrimp and fight and claw to get every penny, it seems sometimes. So are the bankers going to change their mind? I heard bankers were not nice people. They were greedy and they didn't fund things like this. Is that changing too?
Yes, William, because it was the bankers, okay, that were setting that up. The bankers held these private asset-backed accounts off ledger, okay? And bank officials and banking people that favored modern monetary theory, please look that up, folks. Fractional reserve lending, please look that up, folks. The people that were supporting that old boys club, because that was the old boys club of bankers, are now moving aside. Okay, I'm not going to say it's going to disappear overnight. People are still going to accept that and continue to go into banks for loans and mortgages and stuff. It's going to be their choice if they want to just continue to cling to that old reality. But the new reality is going to be through funding, and slowly but surely it's going to trickle and then explode with new projects that are coming out. So you can imagine, William, how big of a change that I'm talking about here. And it's very hard for people to grasp that. So
that's one of the challenges, I think, that just to be completely honest with you, it's been frustrating a little bit at times for me, because I know your message. I know where you're coming from, and it took me a while to kind of get the idea and get the grasp of where you're coming from. But it does seem to come from a place that we are just not used to, that we've never seen before, that we've never experienced before. And so just speaking from my own experience, it was sort of like, how can I grasp that when I have all this backstory, all this history of, well, that's how we used to do it before. So how is that going to change now? And why is it going to change now? So, and just being able, not really even understanding how things happen in the higher levels. A lot of people, I don't have any stats in front of me, but I seem to recall it being said one time that there was a survey done in the United States, for example, of what the Federal Reserve actually is, and most people didn't actually know what it was and how it operated. So it is definitely going to be a tough thing for people to grasp, but if they can, I think there would be a lot of excitement coming from that. Have you seen signs of people starting to get some of the things that you've been talking about and getting excited about your message?
Yes, William, and let me break it down, because I really love the way that you bring it back to the average person, okay, for some comprehension here. So people have to admit, especially our age, that the 1970s, we were still seeing growth, okay? We were still seeing new infrastructure going up beyond private towers in downtown Calgary or developments of housing and stuff like that, that are all built on credit, okay? So when we saw that growth back then, and then I can say to you that in the 1970s, we went away from these asset-backed accounts. We went away from building anything with asset-backed accounts and strictly building with credit, okay? So those are kind of basic things that I can say that we, as 50 and 60-year-olds, that we can see that happened. So then in the 1980s, what happened, We saw interest rates go up into the 20s. I saw that. I lost a piece of property over that. And it was just insane, like, what's going on here? Like, when we shifted away from asset backed and then just into this banking credit system, and these bankers decided, oh, this is a gravy train. We could just keep jacking these. Federal Reserve was in charge back then. Jack up the rates. Canada, the Bank of Canada doing the same thing. It was just a gravy train for this whole credit system. Okay, and all the economists are out there right now, just looking at this. If there's one of them looking at this video going, oh, this guy's whacked. He's just out to lunch. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I could just see their faces, listening to what I'm saying, right? But then we keep going a little bit further. And what happened? Oh, interest rates started to go down, down, down. Now they've been the same for how long? Barely any interest rates. And even talking about negative interest rates. Well, how's that happening, folks? That's happening because they're scared shitless that whole system can't function anymore. That whole credit system that is built on nothing but promises and fake autographs, fake signatures, okay? Because people that used to do signatures, sig is fallen from nature, okay? And this is a natural, godly process that's occurring now. And that godly process, sorry.
That's why you like the word autograph, right?
You betcha, brother. Because you're the gold, AU. It's your autograph. You're the authentic one, AU. You're the authorized one, AU. That's why I like the word autograph. Signature, take that and shove it, because that's all about fallen from nature, sig. Look it up. It's etymology that I'm talking about now. So getting a little on a rant there. Let's go back to where we were. So the idea that through those years of, the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, 20, where we're at now, you can see that progression and that fear. And then we got into Bitcoin and things like that, where peer-to-peer transactions can happen without a central bank getting involved and manipulating and exploiting the flow of funding. Scared them even worse. So now they're so scared, they're just leaving, okay? These bank officials that were in charge of that kind of stuff, US Treasury has taken over from the Federal Reserve. That happened a year and a half ago already. Federal Reserve is just, a waste of space anymore, yapping about interest rates and inflation. They don't do anything anymore. They have been still at the point of trying to squeeze some of this credit through, but even that, guess what? They're broke.
Do we have any idea of what the situation's like in Canada as far as the Canadian Mint?
Well, they're still using the credit system in Canada. Like it's still functioning. That's why I talk about modern monetary theory and the ease of Justin Trudeau and his little, young lady, Chrystia Freeland. How the hell, Billy Moreau saw what was coming and he made a run for it. So did Stephen Palaz, the Bank of Canada CEO. Gone. They're out of there. And there's politicians leaving the nest, ratting out rats left, right, and center these days. They're all leaving because they don't want to sit there. So they got this young lady in the, Parliament buildings who says she's the finance minister. She wouldn't, I'm sorry to say this, but I did put my name in for the governor of the Central Bank of Canada. So do I have the capability and the knowledge and the experience to be the finance minister of Canada? Yeah, but I wouldn't work with that creepy little organization. It's a bunch of lies, a bunch of corporate corruption is what it is. It doesn't even exist as a sovereign national leadership. It's just crap. But that being said, we've got this young lady who's, still working that system, okay? And still working that system because the other people that are involved have not ran all the way yet. So they're still manifesting these bonds and pretending them to sell them to the banks. How many banks do you know that have anything in them, like behind the vault? And all of a sudden they're able to, poof, we got 300 billion for Canada. Let's put another $1 trillion into the US. Just think about that for a minute, folks. I'm talking to the people now, not you, William. Just think about that for a minute. As this thing that's happened around the world, and we needed all these funds to do all this infrastructure and get these economies of the world back on track. Oh, we'll just go to the banks and get that. What's in the banks? Nothing but autographs and agreements, nothing but simple little contracts and promises. It's nothing. It's just credit. And there's no debt, because who the hell are you in debt to? The guy that did the autograph and agreement? This mayor knows how all that business works. I've been in it for 5 years. 6 years, William. And that's what I wanted to end this little rant with, was how it's been hard for you to realize what I'm talking about. I've been at this for that many years and been that close throughout those years to getting one transaction done out of these asset-backed accounts. And when we do one transaction, that whole thing blows up. This last week, we did one transaction. It wasn't to my account, but it was to one of the big boys' accounts. And that, my friend, was the beginning of the domino that's going to blow this whole credit system out of the water. It'll still exist. I'm not saying we're going to destroy it, but why would you need credit when you have asset-backed funding? Simple as that.
So I know that we don't look ahead too much. Because you're a now guy. What are we doing in the present? What are we doing right now? But is there a vision? Is there an intention, in addition to what you've already said? But is there an intention for what you have or would like to see Calgary be once we start integrating this system? Assuming we're going to be successful and we're going to get the funding from the banks, and all of that, how is that going to manifest? And what do you have a vision for Calgary and what it could look like with that kind of a working operating system?
You know what, William? Calgary doesn't have to change that much. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It's magnificent. And it's empty downtown. So all we need to do is shift a little bit of stuff around and maintain what we've got. Immigration is going to slow down as this happens too, because why would people run away from their nations when they have the funding to do and build infrastructure in their own nations?
So you're not talking about this just for Calgary. You're talking about this happening all over the world, of course.
Oh, of course. What I'm talking about with the asset-backed accounts is well beyond anything in Calgary. But when we bring it back to Calgary, then I'll say to you, is it going to turn into, what's that, Jacques? Remember that guy that had that vision of futuristic cities and stuff like that? What was his name?
I'm sorry, I don't.
The Venus Project. There's lots of those kind of ideas of brand new cities with, floating cars and stuff like that. Are we going to do that overnight? No. We're going to slowly bring in new infrastructure and new processes. This green line, obviously, that's on the books and it's ready to go. Fund it and get on with it. Let's move forward. That's a beautiful thing for the city. But, just bring in that idea of maintaining what we have, because it's so stunning. What do we want to do? Tear a bunch of trees down and build, new concrete buildings and stuff. No, let's just maintain our beautiful, stunning city and add to it. Oh my goodness, my phone is just.
You can tell he's getting popular. People are starting to see this guy. His phone, he never taps his phone more than once in the past. And he 5 times in a row right there in 10 seconds.
It won't stop, but it's okay. You know, like I'm handling it. And there is a lot of people coming at me, and I'm meeting more downtown all the time. So let's bring it down to Calgary again, because we were getting pretty heavy there on the big picture stuff, and say again that, you know, the beauty of Calgary is already existing, and that I see the vision of that is just maintaining it, bringing some of the beauty back in some of the buildings that are already here, bringing, you know, getting rid of these stupid mortgages and taxes that older people are having to pay, and getting them on track so that they can maintain their homes and fix them up, or, you know, maybe build some infills, whatever, but just, you know, focus on what we have. We don't have to blow things out of proportion, and there'll be funding available for all of that stuff. We're not talking about, you know, a brand new refinery so that we can, you know, get back into the oil and gas business and stuff. All of that stuff will just, you know, maintain itself as well. And eventually we'll switch over from, you know, oil and gas, petroleum kind of technology to other technologies. It's already happening. So, and I'm not supporting windmills that fall down and stuff like that either. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not you know, there's technology out there that's so far advanced beyond anything that we've been playing around with the last few years, that's been held away by this credit system versus asset-backed funding that will allow not only technology, but some conscious, beautiful, natural stimulus back into our province. You know, like it's just big picture stuff. But again, I'm going off.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, I just, you know, I really want for, you know, the Calgarians to really get the vision that you've got, and get a grasp on it, get it, really understand what that could mean. And yeah, it just, I hope that they can see it. I hope that they can sense what you are wanting to do. And it's beyond you too. I mean, because you're talking about this new system coming in, and that's you know, beyond all of us. You know, at this level, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening with the financial system. So that it's going to be amazing. And I've heard a lot of talk in the alternative media circles that this month is a big month. A lot of things happening, including your election, of course. And I think that might be a good place to wrap up. We're only 8 days away, Randall. 8 days away. That's amazing. I mean, next time we do our show, it's going to be on the eve of the Calgary election. You might be getting some butterflies on that one. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, going back to the butterflies, just to wrap it up, like you say. So yesterday, I was invited to speak. A couple thousand people at least, maybe more. I'm not sure how many were in the park. But I walked up there and I just felt so good, you know, to give a message of positive and hope to the city of Calgary and to these beautiful people that, again, are there because they want to choose what to put in their temple. That's what they're there for. They're not anti, like they're being branded. It's just sad how this media is going about this. And, you know, I went into not RCMP, Calgary City Police, and talked about, you know, we gotta stop these people. They're causing terror and fear. Well, do you know who these people are? I said, yeah. I said, do you want to meet me down there? And she says, well, sure, we can meet you down there. Where are we going? And I said, CBC News. And she says, she sat down on her chair then. And then it was cute, but that was one of my videos that I did this week. But, you know, that's the kind of stuff, is just bring that calmness. And I'm not a protester. I'm not hollering at the police and all that stuff. I just want people to hear me. And then, you know, if they're not hearing it the first time, maybe listen to the video again. You know, you'll get a little bit more each time, because, and then educate yourself. beyond that bloody mainstream media. That's the bottom line. And, you know, you don't have to go far. There's even like Epic News, or they call it here in Calgary, EPOCH, Epoch, I guess they call it news. There's Western Standard. There's a number of organizations that are coming in to the media realms. Rebel News is a little bit out there, but, you know, that are slowly trying to ease people away from that mainstream propaganda terrorism organization, because that's all it is. They're just raining terror into people's minds. So please, folks, you know, like most people that are watching this video are obviously already thinking outside the box. But if anybody is here after all this time and hasn't said, oh, I got to get out of here, this guy's whacked, you know, then please just continue to do your research. Look at the other candidates. I'm not saying, you know, there are not some good people out there. Look at what they have to say, but by all means, you know, remember those last words that I'll say after William says a few more.
Yes, we will tee that one up here in a second, but I did have a funny thought that I had to share with you.
Sure.
You're using the term terrorism in a way that's never been used before. But when you were saying that, I could not help but think of one of your most favorite funny presidents prior to maybe Biden, but George W. Bring George W. back. He can take care of the terrorism for you, because he got that war on terrorism, you know. That would be just ideal. What do you think? Can we bring Georgie back around?
I'd take him under my arm. And I mean, that's the only place we would let him go. You know, like, we're not going to let him go on his own. But if he came along with me, he's a little smaller. I could just grab him by the shoulder. Come on, George, let's go take on those terrorists.
All right. We had to end it on a little bit of humor here. I know I was pretty serious today. I was not in the greatest of moods, but you know, we're getting close, and I really want Calgarians to get your message and get excited about it. So, you know, let's hope for another great week. And I'm going to pass it on to you for the final blessing, and thank you for this has been a lot of fun. We got at least one more week to go, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on the 18th.
Beautiful, William. Thank you. With peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on William and my mind's abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Go out there and have some fun. Don't get mad. Just have fun and bring that calm men or calm women sense into the calm unity. I love you, William. See ya.
Love you.